Hello everyone, welcome to this webinar. I am Mitali. I am Senior Data Scientist at Saturn Cloud, and today I will be talking to you about making machine learning pipelines invincible with Prefect. So, before deep diving into what Prefect is, let me tell you what is a pipeline. So, a pipeline is a series of steps which you might run one time or you might run it multiple times to achieve an objective. And it is also interchangeably known as workflow. So here, what you see is a typical pipeline where we are extracting the data from various sources, we are cleaning it, we are pre-processing it, we are analyzing this data, we are training the data, and then finally, we are evaluating. So this is like a typical machine learning workflow. Now, why do we need pipelines? We need pipelines because automation makes things move faster. All you need to do is just click one button and all the tasks will be executed on their own. So this will boost your team's productivity. And say that you have created a machine learning model. Now, you're not going to execute it just once. You might want to execute it tomorrow or maybe day after. So rerunning a series of steps is very convenient when you have a pipeline. And then lastly, pipeline gives organization to your code. So because pipeline is made up of different components and say that you want to make some changes to your code. So all you need to do is that pick that component up, make changes to it, and the rest of the pipeline does not get affected. So this gives you more control and more flexibility over your code. So now we know what is a pipeline and why it's great to use a pipeline. But when you are running a pipeline, there are so many things that can go wrong. And here, what I have listed is literally just a small fraction of things that can go wrong. So say, for example, that you are extracting the data and you're using API for that, and suddenly, for a few seconds, your API stops working. In that case, your pipeline might fail. Or say that you are streaming some real-time data and there is slight change in the data. In that case, your processing step or data cleaning might fail, and hence your pipeline will stop. And whenever you're working on big and complex pipelines, it is very difficult to tell that which exactly step is currently getting executed and how much time it is taking to execute each and every step. So for all these scenarios and many more, we need a tool which will help us run our pipelines seamlessly. So think about Wonder Woman. She's a superhero, but whenever she's going on a mission, she is always carrying a shield so that whenever there are gunshots fired at her, she can always protect herself and complete her goal. So just like Wonder Woman, data scientists might also be great coders. They might have built a great pipeline, but unexpected issues might happen anytime. And that is why they also need a shield for their pipeline so that their pipeline can be more robust and it can run seamlessly. So this shield in today's talk is going to be Prefect. So what is Prefect? Prefect is a workflow management system. It helps you to monitor and manage your workflows. Prefect is written in Python, which is great because if you are a Python user, then there is not much of a learning curve here. Prefect helps you to handle the unexpected realities of pipeline. So this reminds me of a blog which is written by one of the co-founders of Prefect, and he talks about positive engineering and negative engineering. So positive engineering is when you write a code, you expect it to run and it actually runs. But this scenario in real life is very rare. Whenever you are going to run a pipeline, issues will happen. And data scientists and data engineers are well aware of this fact. And that is why they write their codes in a defensive way. That is, they would include many if-then-else statements, many try-catch blocks, many print statements, just so that they can handle all the possible failures they can think of. So this is known as negative engineering, writing your code in a defensive way so that you can handle the failures. So Prefect's goal is to eliminate this negative engineering because currently the engineers, the data scientists, they're spending only 10% of their time in writing the code, which is about their actual objective. And they're spending 90% of their time in dealing with all these negative engineering issues. So Prefect's goal is to reduce this negative engineering so that engineers can spend most of their time in writing code, which will help them achieve the goal. And a great part is that Prefect is easy. So if you know how to write your functions in Python, then creating a Prefect pipeline is not a big deal. So today I will be talking to you about two of the Prefects offering, Prefect Core and Prefect Cloud. So Prefect Core is an open source library. It helps you run the pipelines on a single machine. And then you have got Prefect Cloud. It is the hosted high availability fault tolerant service. It gives you cloud convenience with on-prem security. So in the slides which will be following, this is how we will be moving forward. First, I will be showing you an example and we will discuss that how we can create a pipeline only in Python. No prefect will be involved. And then we will be discussing that what are the issues that can happen with this pipeline. Then I will be talking to you about some of the prefects concepts which will help us make this pipeline more robust. And then I will be talking to you about Prefect Cloud, and we will see that how we can use Prefect Cloud and Saturn Cloud. So for all this, I will be using a superhero dataset. I have extracted this dataset from Kaggle, and it has got two files, superheropowers.csv and heroesinformation.csv. Okay, so the goal of this pipeline will be to analyze the superhero data and find whether a superhero belongs to Diamond Comics category or sure he belongs to a Marvel category. And this is how our pipeline will look like. First, we will be extracting the dataset 1, and then we will be cleaning that. We will be then extracting the dataset 2, and we will be cleaning that. We will be analyzing one of the data. We will be combining the data. Then we will be using random forest classifier to train the data, and then we will be saving the results. So let us look at how we can create the pipeline with only Python. Okay, so first I'm going to import my necessary libraries. Then I have extracted the data. My data is stored at AWS S3, and I have also extracted my dataset 2. Then I am cleaning the data. Then I'm cleaning the another data set. And then I'm going to plot one of the columns. So here I am hard coding agility. I'm trying to plot a pie chart here and see that how many of the superheroes have agility and how many of them don't have agility. And then I'm combining the data here. Then I am having a prediction function here where I'm running the random forest classifier, and after training, I'm saving the file in pipeline_result.csv. Okay, so all our functions are defined now. And notice that I have created these functions exactly the same way as I have shown you the steps in the pipeline, so that my code is organized, and maybe in future, if I have to make some changes to my code, I can directly go to that particular function and make changes there. Okay, so now let's call all these functions. Okay, now we have got our pie chart here, and in a few seconds, we will also be getting our file here. Okay, there you go. It's here, pipeline_result. So this was an example of a very basic Python pipeline, but there are so many things that can go wrong here. Say, for example, that you are extracting the data from outside, but for a few seconds, there is some connection error. Your pipeline will fail. Or notice that here I have hard-coded what I want to plot. What if I deploy this and later I realize that, hey, maybe I want to plot something else and I would need to change again. And also, I'm running everything here manually. What if I want to automate it? What if I want to run it every hour or maybe every day? So for all these cases and many more, we can use prefect core concepts. So let us now look at some of the prefect concepts and see that how we can create a more robust pipeline. Okay, so this is how we will be learning the prefect core concepts. First, I will be showing you what are the basic blocks of creating a prefect pipeline. So to create a prefect pipeline, there are three main steps. First, you create a task. You can think of task just like a function. So once you have created all these tasks, then you are going to add these tasks to your flow. You are going to add them in the order in which you want them to get executed. And once you have added them, then you are going to run this flow. So once we know how to create a prefect pipeline, then I will be showing you some of the more features of prefect so that we can make a pipeline more robust. Okay, so first, let us look at how we can create a prefect pipeline. So the first thing we need is a task. So a task, as I said, can be thought of like a function. It is a standalone chunk of work to be done. And the simplest way to create a task is just to add a decorator task to your function. So if you remember, these were the two functions that I had just shown you in the example. So all I did was add a decorator to it, and that's it. Your task is created. Okay, so now that you have created task, you need flow. So flow is like a container of the multiple tasks. You are going to add all these tasks to your flow in the sequence in which you want them to execute. So inside the flow, you will be describing what is the relationship between all these tasks. So here is the example of a very basic prefect pipeline. So first, I create a task where I'm reading a file, and then in another task, I'm cleaning the file, and then I have this flow. So to create a flow, you just use the keyword with flow, and I've named this flow as run me. So now all you need to do is just like you call the functions one by one, you are going to add these tasks here. And then to run this flow, you need to give the command flow.run, and that's it. Your first prefect pipeline is created. Okay, so now we know how to create a prefect pipeline. Let's see some of the features which we can add to this pipeline. So the first one is prefect schedules. So say that you want to automate your pipeline. Say that you want to run your pipeline maybe every hour, maybe every minute, maybe every Wednesday. So for all these scenarios, you can use prefect schedules. So schedules in prefect can be of two types. There is a simple schedule and there is a complex schedule. So simple schedule is what you must have seen mostly in most of the workflow management systems. These are interval based. Say that you want to run your pipeline every Friday, or you want to run your pipeline every day, etc., etc. And then you have got complex schedules. So you would be using complex schedules whenever you want to run your pipeline, maybe in a very unusual pattern. So that you want to execute it every alternate Friday, or you want to execute it last day of the month. So for all those cases, you can use complex schedules. So complex schedule has three components. It has a clock, it has a filter, and it has adjustments. So clock is where you will be giving the time when you want to emit that event, and the clocks can be of four types. So the interval clock is the most basic kind of clock, where you can define that you want to emit your event maybe every hour, or you want to emit it every minute, etc., etc. Then you have con clocks, where you can give con expressions. You have date clocks, where you can explicitly enter the dates on when you want to emit your events. And then you have got recurrence rule clocks, which support the iCalendar recurrence rules. So once the event has passed through these clocks, it will be passing through filters. So the event will either get excluded or it will get included as per the kind of filter you have chosen. So the filters can be of different kinds. Say a filter can be like is weekday or is weekend, or a filter can be like between this and this date or between this and this time. And once the event has passed through filter, it can optionally get modified if you are going to use adjustments as well. Okay, so here is an example of a simple schedule. So to create a simple schedule, first I'm going to import interval schedule library. I've created a task, and then I have defined that what kind of schedule I want. So here I have said that I want my flow to run every 4 hours. So I have given hours equal to 4. And now to automate your flow to have it running on schedule, all you need to do is give a schedule keyword along with your flow, and that's it. Now your flow is scheduled and it will be running every 4 hours. And this is an example of how you can create a complex set schedule. So this is an object schedule, and notice that I have got 3 components here. I have clock, I have filter, and adjustments. So for the clock, I have set up hours equals to 1. So your event will be fired every hour. Then it will be passing through the filter, whether it's a weekday or it's not a weekday, it will be getting included or excluded. And then finally, it will get modified as per what you have given in the adjustments. Okay, now let's talk about with cases. So whenever you want to create a conditional workflow, whenever you have to deal with different kinds of outputs, or you want to manage the errors, for all those cases, you can use with case. So think of with case like the if then else statements that we have in Python. So on my right hand side, you can see how the flow looks like whenever you are using with case. So here I have got 2 branches. I have got 2 branches here because I have got 2 outputs. So as per whatever is the output from the condition, whether it is true or false, etc., one branch will be followed and one branch will be skipped. Okay, now let's talk about another feature of Prefect, which is handling failures. And it's a great feature because it helps us to manage the negative engineering. So the first feature is task retry logic. So sometimes the task might fail one time, but if you're going to execute it again, it might run. So that is where task retry logic comes to use. So if you see here in the example, in this task, I'm extracting the data from one of the external sources. So it might happen that there might be some connection error at some point of time while this pipeline is running. So to avoid failure of this task, I have given max retries equal to 3. That means that in case my task is going to fail, it can be run at max 3 times. And between each of these runs, there is going to be an interval of 10 seconds. And then just like this, we have other features as well for handling failures, like task triggers. So which means that your next task is going to get triggered based on the state of the previous task. So by default, only when all the previous tasks have passed, the next task gets triggered. But you can change that. You can make your pipelines very flexible. You can do option like even if one task passes, then still I want to trigger my next task. Or you can do something like even if all the previous tasks fail, still I want my next task to get triggered. So you can be very flexible with your pipeline with this option. And then we have got state handlers. So in state handlers, you can take the action as per what are the changes in the state of your task. So they are very useful when the state is failed of the task and say that you want to take some action, say that you want to send some email or you want to throw some message, etc., etc. And then we have got Slack notifications. So you can get notified as per whatever are the changes in your flows on your Slack channel. If there are any changes for any particular task in its state, then also you can get notified on your Slack channel. Okay, so this is another of a very great feature of Prefect, parameters. So parameters are the inputs which are sent by the users when the flow is running. So let us look at the example here first, where I'm not using parameters to understand more of this. So in this example, I have a task where I'm first reading the file and then I'm hard coding what I want to plot. And then I'm running this flow. So the disadvantage of this is that when this is deployed, this pipeline is deployed, and later when you realize that, hey, I think I want to plot something else, you would need to go back and then change whatever you want to plot. You would need to hard code again and then redeploy your pipeline. So to avoid all this hassle of redeploying things and changing things again and again, you can use parameterized flow. So now, if you look at the example of how we can run the parameterized flow, so inside the task, what changes I have made is that instead of having the hard-coded value, I am passing a parameter here. So if you look at my flow, I have defined a parameter here. Its name is power, and by default, you can give any default value. You can also give the options like whether it is required or it is not required. And then in the flow.run, optionally, you can pass a parameter. So in this case, you don't need to redeploy your pipelines in case you want to change the input value. And there is even a simpler way of running a parameterized flow. So if you have access to Prefect Cloud, in that case, all you need to do, so on my left-hand side, you can see there is a run button. All you need to do is click that button, and then you would be navigated to a page, which you can see on my right-hand side. And if you have declared the parameters in your flow, then you can just add the inputs. You can add different values and run a parameterized flow. Okay, so these were some of the features. There are many other features, but because of less time, today I showed you these features. But if you want, you can check Prefect Docs and see many more features. So let's see a demo of how we can create a more robust pipeline using Prefect Code. So first, I'm going to import necessary libraries. Notice that I have interval schedule here. I have flow, I have parameters, and I have task. Now, notice that these functions, these are literally all the same functions that I had used in the example where we were not using Prefect, where we were simply creating the pipeline. All I did was I added the decorator task, and now I have created my functions to task. So these are tasks here, and let us see what else we have changed here. So now I have added maximum retries as 3, so that in case these tasks fail, they can be run again. Also, I have defined schedule here. So if I want to automate, I have defined here hours equal to 4. And this is our flow. So notice that there is not much change in how you call a functions in Python and how you have arranged your task here. It's almost the same way. So there is not much of a learning curve. So the name of my flow is superheroes. And I have also declared a parameter here. So this is almost the same example that I had shown you previously. The default value is agility. The name is power of this parameter. So in this plot function, instead of passing any hard code value, I'm passing the parameters here now. So let us run this. Oh, I think I didn't run this one. Let me run this and let us run this again. Okay, and you can do flow.visualize to visualize your flow as well. So notice that these nodes, they represent a task, and the arrows that you see, these are the dependencies that are getting passed to the another task. And then to run the flow, all you need to do is flow.run. So this is a parameterized run. So I'm passing a parameter here. If you want, you can also do flow.run, and you can run this even without passing the parameters. So currently I haven't automated this. If I want, I can just add the schedule keyword here and make this pipeline automated. Now if I'm going to run this again, this will be running every 4 hours. Okay. Now let's go back to our slides. So you can also add scalability to your pipelines by using Dask and Prefect together. You can run your task in parallel and make your pipeline move faster. So what is Dask? Dask is a free and open source library. It is written in Python, and it helps to increase the speed of your computation. So if you're working on a single machine, then you can spread your work across multiple cores. Or if you have access to multiple machines so that you are using something like Dask distributed, you can spread your work across multiple machines. So this is how the structure looks like. This is how the architecture looks like. So notice on my left-hand side is the example of how I was doing the execution so far using a single machine. So when you're using a single machine, all these tasks will be carried out on a single machine one by one. And then in the second option, you can see that I have 3 machines here. So all these tasks, there are 3 tasks, they are getting distributed across these 3 machines using Dask clusters. So I would recommend check this example, scld.io-dask_parallel_task, and you can see that how you can execute multiple tasks across multiple machines using Dask clusters. And then you can use resource manager, which is like a context manager in Prefect, and you can distribute a single task, you can execute a single task across multiple machines. So say that you have a task and you think that, I think this task needs some scalability. So in that case, the resource manager can create a temporary Dask cluster, and you can distribute the execution of a single task across multiple machines. So for this, I would recommend check scld.io-dask_resource_manager. So you can get access to the code, and you will see that how we can distribute a single task across multiple clusters. Okay, so now let's talk about Prefect Cloud. So Prefect Cloud is a hosted high availability fault tolerant service. It gives you cloud convenience with on-prem security. So Prefect Cloud is based on hybrid architecture. That means that your code and your data, it remains on your infrastructure. And all that is passed to Prefect Cloud is the flow metadata, which is like the codeless version of your pipeline, so that your data and your code remains secure in your infrastructure. So Prefect Cloud will give you the complete oversight of your workflows. So in case you're working on a big pipelines, you're working on multiple workflows and very complex workflows, I would recommend use Prefect Cloud, because it is a one place where you can see all your upcoming runs, you can see all your past runs, and you can manage and monitor them very nicely here. So on my right hand side, you can see what a Prefect Cloud dashboard looks like. You can see the run history here. Maybe in the morning, whenever you open the laptop, you can see the summary here, that how did the nightly run go. You can see that which were the failed flows. You can click on, this is a very interactable dashboard. So you can click on each of these runs and get more details on it. You can also see that which are the runs, which are upcoming, which are the scheduled runs. So Prefect Cloud also gives you the access to GraphQL API, which is the interactive API. So you can just write your query and get the exact information about the flow. It will also give you the view of schematic views of your workflows, so that you can exactly see that in which step did your workflow fail, and you can get more information from there. And as I said before, having a parameterized flow is very convenient if you are using Prefect Cloud UI. So let me show you that how Prefect Cloud UI looks like. So I will log into Prefect. And this is my dashboard. You can see my run history, and this is the summary of the last day's run, how many of them passed, how many of them failed, and how many were canceled. You can also click on each of these and see the reason why they failed, which exactly step they failed. This is the interactive API where you can enter the query and you can get the exact information about the flow. Now let's go back to the dashboard. So these are the flows. So these are all the runs that I had. These are all the pipelines that I have created so far. And these are the versions here. So version 1 means that there was only one run, and 18 means that so far I have run this 18 times. So I can click on one of the flows and you can get a similar dashboard here So as I said, this is very interactable. You can see a single run. Maybe we can check one of the failed runs and see that why it failed and at which step it failed. So you can see all your individual tasks here, which have passed, which have failed. You can also get the schematic view of your workflow. And you can exactly see where all it failed and what all passed here. Okay. So this was Prefect Dashboard. Okay, so let's talk about the hybrid model. So this is the architecture of hybrid model. So as I said, your code and your data is residing in your infrastructure. So on my left-hand side is your infrastructure where you have your code and your data. And all that is getting passed, you can see the green arrow, the orange arrow. All that is getting passed is the flow metadata, which is the codeless version of the pipeline that you have created in your infrastructure. So on my right-hand side is the Prefect Cloud, which has Cloud UI and it has Cloud API. You can see in my infrastructure, in your deployment infrastructure, there are some pink boxes. So these pink boxes are known as agents. So these are the lightweight processes which kick off the run in your infrastructure. So what happens is that these are pull-based. So they are always sending the request to Prefect Cloud and asking, is there anything you want me to run? Is there anything you want me to run? And as soon as they find some work, they find something is scheduled to run, they are going to kick that flow in your infrastructure. And they're also responsible for sending back the status and the logs to Prefect Cloud. So whenever you have to do this configuration, whenever you need to have this hybrid model infrastructure to work with Prefect Cloud, you would need to configure your deployment infrastructure. So there are two ways of configuring your deployment infrastructure. First way is you do the configuration on your own, but that can be quite challenging sometimes because what if you need some scalability? In that case, you would need to configure Dask as well. You might need what size or what kind of the resource you would need, how much disk space you would need, and you would also need to work around how you are going to configure the agent. You would need some knowledge about Kubernetes, Docker, etc., etc. And even if you don't want to do the configuration yourself, you would need to depend on some third party, like maybe on your IT team, and it might cost you more time and money. There is a simpler way for this. You can use Saturn Cloud as your deployment infrastructure. So if you are going to use Saturn Cloud as your computing environment while working with Prefect Cloud, you don't need to worry about any of the hassle of the configuration. Everything will be taken care of by Saturn Cloud, and you can just concentrate on building great pipelines. So let me tell you in more detail why having Saturn Cloud as your computing environment with Prefect Cloud is a great idea. So Saturn Cloud acts like a one place. It's a one place where all the non-Prefect Cloud infrastructure resides. If you have to create your flow, you have the access of Saturn Cloud Jupyter Server resources, where in just few clicks, you have accessibility to Dask clusters. You can choose what kind of machine you want to work on, how much should be the disk size, etc., in just few clicks. To manage your flows, you have Saturn Cloud Prefect agents. So you don't need to worry about any of the configuration issues. And to run your flows, we have Saturn Cloud Prefect Flow resources, which get automatically created as soon as you are going to register your flow with Prefect Cloud. And also, we have this Python library, which is created by Saturn Cloud engineers, Prefect Saturn. And it is going to add by default storage, run config, executor, labels to your flow. So think of Saturn Cloud like a pill, which is going to reduce all the configuration headache. Okay, so let me show you Saturn Cloud and how easy it is to work with Prefect Cloud. So this is a special place where we have Prefect Agent. You can see that my Prefect Agent is already running. And you can create your own Prefect Agent by adding the name here. And then all you need to do is from the drop down, you need to just select the credentials which you have saved here. And that's it. Your Prefect Agent is created. No need to get involved in any of the complexities of configuration. And now let's look at the resources. So my Jupyter server resource is already running. I can click here. So I haven't added any Dask clusters here. If you want to add scalability to your flows, all you need to do is just add few things here in the Dask clusters and you are up and running. And then we have these special resources, which are Prefect Cloud flows. So a user does not need to directly interact with them. These will be created on their own as soon as you are going to register your flow with Prefect Cloud. And then as soon as you are going to trigger a run in Prefect Cloud, these will be starting the computation and they will be running your flows. So this is all about Saturn Cloud. Okay, so let me wrap up everything quickly for you. What all did we learn today? So we learned that Prefect Core helps you to manage negative engineering. It helps you to run your pipelines in a robust and seamless way. Prefect Cloud handles all the orchestration responsibilities. It helps you to monitor and manage your complex workflows. You can add scalability to your flows and make them execute even faster by using Dask clusters. And it is very easy to set up computation environment for your workflows using Saturn Cloud.